TalkTablet for Apple iPads and iPhones was released nearly 7 years ago in February of 2012. And since then, we've added many new features and versions, each one focusing on a different language to support people with communication disorders worldwide. But today, we are proud to announce the release of TalkTablet PRO, the culmination of nearly 2 years of dedication by our software design staff. Simply put, we rebuilt TalkTablet from the ground up to be the best multi-platform, multi-language, feature-rich, and most importantly, easiest to use symbol-based speech app in the world. A new feature in TalkTablet PRO is the on-screen keyboard access. So if you look in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a little keyboard icon. If I touch on that, it brings up the Apple's on-screen keyboard with word prediction. So I can type directly into my message bar for a speech out. So simply, I can do text-to-speech. And then I touch the message bar.
Hello there.
Now, in addition to that, we have all these buttons that we have pre-configured, and what we can do is combine those with our on-screen keyboard to create random phrases that aren't already completely pre-programmed into one of your page sets. So as an example, if I choose these two buttons,
It is 2.
and I want to add a word to that, I bring up my on-screen keyboard, and now when I touch the message bar, it will speak my brand new random phrase.
It is too funny.
In addition to that, if you look at the text that's appearing on the message bar, the "it is too funny," if you go down to the very bottom under settings, what you can do is change the font size that appears on that text that's on the message bar. So I go into settings and message bar options and see where it says font size 32. I can make that as big or as small as I want, and I will bring it all the way up to 45 just to make it a big difference. If I go back to my page, you'll see how much larger the font is. So you can also change the font size on the message bar now, and that is new in TalkTablet PRO. Buttons in TalkTablet PRO will highlight when you touch them. For example, if I touch the to drink or to eat buttons, you'll see that the border gets thicker. But if I press on the I want or I like the first row, you'll see that those borders get much thicker when you select them. And the reason that is because the highlight is connected to the border width that you've got set up for a button. For example, these first 3 buttons, I want, I like, and I need, their border has been set to a thickness of 8. So when I select them, the highlight is much broader, much thicker. On the to drink, to eat, and to play, those buttons, the border is set to 4. So when I press on those, the highlight is less obvious. So you can set how much highlight you want based on the border thickness. The other thing I'd like to show you is that a new feature with the TalkTablet PRO is, yes, the pages now scroll. We've had people saying, is there any way I can just keep adding buttons to enlarge it without adding new pages? And now you can scroll. You can make these pages as long as you want. TalkTablet PRO includes a core vocabulary page set, and we're very excited to talk about this because this allows someone to, by looking at a single page of buttons, to create virtually 85% of what you want to say can be made up by the buttons on this page. And if you weren't sure what core vocabulary is a list of words that have been determined that are highly useful and very often used in social environments. For example, 85% of the words that we say today are made up of 200 words. So, and core is consistent across place, topic, or cognitive ability. These are the 200 words. Okay, so let me show you how I'll put together a phrase just using this core vocabulary.
I watch.
Now, those 2 words, I and watch, are part of the core vocabulary. What makes it work is what are called fringe words. And those are words that are specific to you or your likes or dislikes and families and things like that. So I and watch are part of our core vocabulary. Now, if you look on my first row, this is where I can edit this or modify it to put in what are called fringe words, which are basically words that are specific to me. So I watch And now I'll go into this Hello Play button, and I'm going to choose sports. So this is specific to me. These are what they call fringe words, and words that I choose.
Football.
And now if I press my message bar,
I watch football.
in addition to that, if I brought up my on-screen keyboard in the upper right corner, I can add my own, if I'm able to, my own words to it. And now when I press my message bar,
I watch football on Sunday.
that is the power of the core vocabulary, and it is included in this page set found in TalkTablet Pro. When you install TalkTablet Pro, we have several vocabularies that are all pre-configured for you to start using the moment you install the software. So if you want to get in here and start communicating immediately, you can. You can choose from any one of the page sets that are built into it. And if I touch here on the very bottom beside settings, the first item up here at the top says current page set, and we're using a 16 button. The first 8 or 9 you'll see, those are the ones that are on the existing version of TalkTablet. And then we have new ones, starting with the 2 buttons, new, and then we have French, we have core, we have transparent buttons. We also have some other ones at the bottom, Norwegian, and so on. Let me talk to you a little bit about flexibility. TalkTablet can be as simple as a 2 button, yes and no if you want, and again, so simple to edit and change these things. Or if you want, at the other end, you've got a core page with all your core words and so on. And let me show you some other things. We also have what are called transparent buttons. This is brand new with TalkTablet. You can put an image on the background of a page and then make the buttons on that page transparent. That's a new setting inside button settings. You can make a button transparent. For example, if I hit edit and I touch on this button in the top left-hand corner, and I'll choose edit button, you'll see we have a new choice here called is button transparent, yes or no. I can make the border transparent or not too. If I do that, it will disappear that one. You won't be able to see it at all. But you can do that. So what that does is it lets you see through the button to the image on the background, and then what we can call these buttons hotspots if you want. So in the example I'm showing here, and this is included with TalkTablet Pro, if I touch on this little boy's face,
Jimmy.
or the mom,
Mommy.
and the reason that works is, again, I'll go into edit, and I'll touch on this little boy's face, and I'm going to edit button, and it says Jimmy. And the button is transparent. If I come down here, you can see the button is transparent, and the border is transparent. I'll take the border off transparent, and I'll hit done. And there you have it. So that's another one. Let's go back into settings. That's transparent buttons. We've also added some other ones here. Sometimes people say, hey, what if I don't want to use symbols? I'd rather use my own pictures and photographs of the family. Well, of course, you can use that. You can use symbols, pictures, anything you'd like to use. We have 2 different French page sets now. This looks like our default, but it's in French. And we also have one what's called the French Dictionary page set. We have that as well, which doesn't apply to people in the United States so much. And then we have Norwegian, and back to our default. So TalkTablet does include a lot more page sets for you to get started out of the box as soon as you install it. You can create a brand new page set from scratch with no buttons and just build it and create your own customized specifically to use. Or you can take one of these other page sets, change the buttons, what the buttons say in the configuration and what's on the buttons, whether it's pictures or symbols, and go from there. TalkTablet Pro comes with more voices than we've ever included in any previous version of TalkTablet. If I go into settings on the bottom here and I choose speech settings, what's different about it is that we do include a couple of voices, US English voices, and the rest of the voices are under standard voices. They are free to download, and we have them in all these languages, and they're free for you to download. So after you download a voice, it will appear on the installed voices listing here. And if you touch on
This is a test.
or US
This
will,
is a test.
So you'll hear a sample, for example, French Canadian Louise.
Six attest.
So there's more voices here: Australian, Belgian, Dutch, Danish, Finnish, French. Lots of French voices: German, Italian, Norwegian, Portuguese, Swedish, UK, and US voices, and also Spanish. I will note, though, at the bottom here, the ones that say US, Spanish, Rodrigo, and Rosa, those are bilingual. They'll actually speak English and Spanish. Then below that, we have what are called the premium voices. Now, these premium voices are from a cappella over in France. These are created by children for children. So these are children's voices. You will not find a higher quality of voice. For example, if I touch here on Liam and hit
Hi,
play.
my name is Liam. Mommy, I want to go to the zoo. Blimey, that's a cute koala. Ah.
I'll go back. It's quite remarkable. Again, these are created by children for children, and they are spectacular. If I come down to, I'll do one of the French.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Valentin, je suis une voix d'enfant d'un capella. Tada, je peux dire tous vos textes, mais également faire des bruits d'animaux.
And then I'll do, there's 3 U.S. children's voices, as well as at the bottom it says Emilio and Valeria. Those are bilingual English and Spanish, U.S. English and Spanish voices. So if you're looking for one voice that can do both, you'd want to choose one of these. And U.S., Ella or Josh, I'll touch on Josh so you can hear his voice.
Hello. My name is Josh. Efficient, fast, and natural sounding. Why not let me be your voice?
Okay. These voices are from a cappella. They are an in-app purchase if you want one. Again, if you do want one of these, you only need one, so you don't need to buy a bunch of these. And they're $19.99. And again, you only need one if you want to use one of these premium children voices. And you just touch on it and hit the buy button. You can also alter the speed, pitch, and volume. And there's also a test there. So there is actually includes now, TalkTablet includes free. 52 voices are included free, and those are the same voices that we had in our 10 different versions of TalkTablet in the past, and you just touch on them, and it will download the voice onto your tablet. So you'll need Wi-Fi just to download your voice the first time if you're going to be using one of these other voices. And then, of course, we have access to the a cappella premium, real, authentic children's voices in those languages that you can see there. And again, you just touch on one of those, you can hear a play sample, or you can buy it, and they're $19.99. And that covers the new speech voices offered in TalkTablet. At some point, when you're editing pages of buttons in TalkTablet, you'll come to the point where you'll wish that you could change all of buttons at one time. For example, you might say, well, every button that speaks, I want all of those to have a thicker border that's green, or I don't like the font. It happens to everybody, and you wish you could change them all instead of going to individually into each button and changing the font or the setting or whatever you want for each button. It's very time intensive, but we have a solution for you now. And if you come into settings here, at the very bottom, we have global button settings and global page settings. So let's start with global button settings. Now, let me go back a step. Let me explain. A button is a button that says something. Like, that's a button. That's a button. A page button is one that when you touch on it, it opens up a new page of buttons. We call that a page button. So questions is a page button. I'm guessing my phrases is a page button. If I touch on it, yep, that's a page button. Okay. Well, what I'd like to do is have the buttons that speak, not the page buttons, just the regular talking buttons. I want them all to have a thick green border. I want the font to be a little smaller and maybe italic. And I want a background, a light green background. So how do I do that? I go into settings, global button settings, the second one from the bottom here. And here are the attributes to a regular button. There's colors and text and fonts and all these kinds of things. And you can selectively choose which you want to change. And this will happen to all of the buttons, all the regular buttons. So let's start with button background color. Over to the right here, it says white. I'm going to touch on that. That brings up my color palette. If I put my finger on there, hold it down and slide anywhere I want, I can pick any cool color I'd like. And I'll come down. I said I wanted to make it a light green. We'll make it light green. There, it's kind of a nice green. And if across the bottom, just so you know, there's a sliding bar, and that's for changing the darkness of that color. So if you wanted it to be kind of a sage or whatever, but we'll leave it just like that. And I press OK. The next thing I'd like to do is, well, let's do that too. Let's make the text color. So the label on all of those buttons, right now it's black. I'm going to touch that. And let's make it a dark blue. Okay. And the button border color. Well, the button background is a light green. The button border color, well, we'll make it green too. So I'll choose a green here, and then I'll slide this bar across to make it, it's going to make it a darker green. Okay. And last thing I'd like to do is the border width, the border around each button. I'll make it a little thicker. It's 2, but I'm going to pull that all the way up to 7, let's say. And just notice here before I continue, you can turn the labels on or off. You can put the labels on top or labels on bottom, which is the default, but I could change those so labels on top. That's what these are for. Label on multiple lines. If you have a label that's longer than can fit on one line, choose that and it'll scroll onto the second line. This has to do with the font size. We've done that. We could change that. Let's make it a little, we'll make it smaller. We'll make it 20. I can make it bold or italics. We'll make it italics. So there's the changes we're going to make to all the buttons at one time. We've changed the button background color, the text color of the label, but the border color of the button, the font size, we'll make it italics, and the border width is going to be 7. Press done in the upper right hand corner, and it's going to warn you saying, hey, I'm going to change all the buttons based on what you've told me to do, yes or no. And I'll say yes. When I come back to my page, look at that. So we have blue font. It's a little bit smaller. We have the dark blue border, the dark green border, the light green background, and that looks really nice. So I know looking at my page now that the buttons that are green say something. Now what I can do, last step, is let's talk about the global page button settings. So if I want to change all these buttons at the same time, the ones that open up a new page or a page button, do the same thing. Go into settings, the very bottom, global page settings. We have our own attributes for a page button. And on these ones, really the big thing I'm going to do on these is I'm going to make the border, I'm going to make the border quite thick. I'm going to make it 12. And I'm going to make the font bold. And I'll put the label on top. So the label will be on top. Border width. And if I press done, it's going to ask me, do you want to update all these pages? And I'm going to say yes. I come back and look what I've done. I can see the thicker borders, although I've kept my colors that they originally set up with, but I made the borders thicker. And so I can tell by looking at this, and it affects every page, as you can tell. I can go into my phrases, and everyone here with a light green background says something. Things that don't have a light green background are page buttons, and that's how I know. That's how easy it is to do a change to all of your buttons based on attribute selectively. TalkTablet Pro has its own TalkTablet cloud server that's included with the software free of charge. It's for uploading and or trading files wirelessly to anybody else in the world that's using TalkTablet, or with yourself or with your teacher or whatever. But there now are thousands and thousands and thousands of files up on our cloud server. It's what makes TalkTablet great. The fact that it's in multiple languages, and it's just fantastic. However, it's grown. It's become huge. So we have so many files up there, people are having trouble now locating their own buttons and pages to upload and download from their other devices because there's just so many on the file server. So look what we've done. Under settings, if you go on the bottom right hand corner, you touch on the settings, and you touch on manage my TalkTablet server files, it brings up just your files, which is fantastic. As an example, the ones by when you look at this, on the far left edge, if it has a padlock, that means it's marked as private or public, or doesn't have a padlock. So let's suppose, see that first line, it says feelings. I have a button that says feelings that opens up to a page of buttons with feelings. And I'd like to add that to the page that I'm on right now in TalkTablet. So let me go back to that page. See this page? Nice page. And I'd like to add my feelings buttons to it that's on the TalkTablet cloud server. Simple. I hit settings. There's my feelings button. I touch on it. My choices come up. I want to import it. I can delete it. I can change the description of that file. See this? You can manage your own files on our server. Let's go down the bottom here, near the bottom where it says private. If I touch on private, I can make it public or private, so you can designate your own files. You can change them. If you put them up onto a server as public and you thought, I didn't want to do that, you can change them to public or to private if you want. But top left-hand corner, it says import now. I'm going to touch on that. It says, you sure you want to import the contents of this file onto your page? Right onto the page, right from our TalkTablet server. I'm going to say yes. Has been completed. Then I press done. It's been saved. Okay. Now if I come back to my page, look at that, top row. We always put the top row second position, just so you know, when you download a button that opens up another button or whatever.
Feelings.
There it is. I have a feelings button. I'll bring it down one more space. Okay, there I have it. I did that all from within my page set by connecting directly to my files on the TalkTablet cloud server that only apply to me. And that is a huge benefit, to be able to manage, download, delete, rename, make private or public control of your own files on the TalkTablet cloud server. In the past, TalkTablet was separated into 10 versions based on the language. We had TalkTablet US, and we had French and German, Italian, Spanish, and so on and so on. TalkTablet Pro combines all of those apps into one app that is multi-language and multi-platform. So basically what I'm saying is that with this copy of TalkTablet Pro, it has built-in support for 10 languages. The interface, the buttons, and the speech output can be in any one of 10 languages, including English, Dutch, Danish, Finnish, French, German, Italian, Norwegian, Portuguese, Swedish. And so basically, I went in here and I went into my page sets, and I chose a French one. And there's really three things to consider when you're switching an iPad from an English to use it in a different language. And this applies to every other language. I'm going to give you an example with French. So I've selected my French page set, or I could create one from scratch. The next thing I need to do is select a French voice. So if I go into settings, I go into speech settings, I need to choose a French voice. So I'll take French Canadian Louise, for example. Or I could pick one of these, doesn't matter. Or if it was for a child and I wanted a real premium child's voice, I could, for $20, buy a French voice here if I wanted to. Okay, so I'm going to choose French Canadian Louise. Okay, so right now,
Oui. Non.
it speaks
Oui,
French.
non. Rencontrer. Matin. Bonne nuit. Rencontrer matin, bonne nuit. Maison.
But what's wrong with this is that if I go to edit a button, My menus are all in English. So we need to convert this iPad into French. And the way to do that is you go back to your home page on an iPad and you go into Settings, General on the left side here. On the right side, go to Language and Region, touch on that. At the top where it says iPad language, it says English. I'm going to change that to French. I'll make it French Canadian in this example. I press Done. Do you want to change this to French Canadian? Sure. So now the iPad is configured to be a French iPad. Everything in it, the menus, everything about it is French. TalkTablet knows that yes, this is a French iPad, and so it is accordingly. If you look at the top right-hand corner where we have an edit button, well, now it says modifier. If I touch on that, and then I touch on a button, all the menus are in French now. If I touch on modify the button, which is this one here, you'll see all my properties are completely French. This also applies if any of the 10 languages, whether it's Danish or French or German or whatever, it'll change to the appropriate language, and it supports 10 languages. What I want to show, well, what's very key is, see when we're choosing a symbol here, there's a little house there, but if I touch on this symbol, menu comes up in French. I'm going to select a symbol. You can't have an app operating in French and not be able to search for symbols in French. It would be pointless. So, if, for example, if I type in here chapeau, which is French for hat, you'll see a list of all the hats that pop up. So, TalkTablet has French language on the buttons. It has French menus, and it has French voices for speech output. It is truly French. The same thing applies with Danish and Finnish and Spanish and all the other languages that it supports. It is a truly multi-language communication symbol-based system.